Hi, my name is Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is not for the faint-hearted because I'm going to tell you all about what dark rooms and cruising are in the gay world. But before we do that, it would be amazing if you could like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also leave a little comment on the video or even just a smiley face, as it helps my channel a lot. And now let's get started. So I can't believe I'm even making this video, but I'm doing it because I talk a lot, as you know, and it turns out that a lot of people find my story times interesting because they find out a lot of things that they never knew before. I also want to normalise some things around the gay world, but around having fun in general. So this video revolves around sex. I'll try to be as politically correct as possible because I do not want my channel to be deleted and cancelled. I don't want this video to be demonetized, but I will introduce you to a whole new world that you may not be familiar with. And as always, thank the Lord my mum doesn't understand English, and I'll tell you also a few funny stories that involve me as well. So, what is a dark room? Let's start from the idea that the gays love having fun, they love sex, apparently a bit more than straight people. Apparently the gays have a higher sex drive. I don't know why, I don't know the science behind it, I don't know if there is any science behind it, but the gays do like to interact with each other a lot, and a way to do that is in dark rooms. So you can go to clubs where you have music in some rooms, and also you have this dark room. A dark room is, just like the name suggests, a room. It's a room that has dim lights, so you can't fully see everything, or you can, but it's a bit darker than a normal room. And in this room, gay men have sex, basically. So you go to this room specifically to find people to have anonymous, quick sex with. Now, you can go to the dark room and then walk around until you find someone, or if this is a club that has a bar or a dance floor, you can find someone there and then you can go together to the dark room. Different people have different ways of using dark rooms. Some people just want brutal anonymous sex in the dark room. Some people prefer meeting someone outside the dark room, and they prefer having a bit of a connection, and then if they like each other in that way, they can then go to the dark room. Everything is legitimate, there is nothing wrong with either option, and this is why I'm actually talking about this, because I do want to normalise this. The gays are filthy creatures, don't get me wrong, but we are considered filthy because of what is considered to be filthy, but there's nothing wrong with having fun. Now, personally, I don't particularly like dark rooms. They're not the centre of my life. There are venues here that have dark rooms, but I would never go to a club just for that. I'm a dancer, I love dancing, and luckily we have a few venues here that have great dance floors, and then they offer the option of a dark room. So I wouldn't consider the places that I go to be sex clubs. Sex clubs are more, so there is no music. I mean, there is music, but just background music. There is no entertainment, it's just for the sex. I don't think I've ever been to one here in London. I've been to one or two in Barcelona, just because it's never happened. And also, there are a lot of sex imbued parties here in London. The problem is the music, because I only like pop music, but most of these venues don't do pop, they do techno and electro, and then obviously there is sex involved. But if I don't hear pop, I get really upset. I know, as pathetic as that sounds, it's true. I have friends who go to a lot of these parties, a lot of fetish parties as well, which I don't do. It's just not for me. So I tend to go to clubs, dance clubs, and sometimes, well, some of these have a dark room. Now, my problem is also that I don't fancy many people. I don't find many people attractive. So for me, dark rooms are more of a miss than a hit, because it's very unlikely that I will find people that I fancy. I do like the idea of finding someone on the dance floor, and then if we click, then we can do something. But even on the dance floor, I would be the one struggling to find someone that I fancy. But it's my problem. There's nothing that can be done about it, and it's all on me. I wish I fancied more people, because that would make my life easier. So this is what a dark room basically is. It's a room where people have fun. There are all sorts of kinds of fun. You can just be just you and the other guy. It can be that more people can join, depending on what you want to do. There are people that want to be entertained by several people. I don't want to be jailed for life for this video. So it just depends on what you like, and the beauty of it is that you can find everything there. And what I think the misconception that I had before I started going, which was only a year ago, and I started going as a social experiment because I really wanted to see what the fuss was all about. I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it, and again, it's not what I dream of at night. But the misconception that I have, and I had, and I think a lot of people have, is that everyone is brutally rude as well, and it's very unpleasant. No, I have to say that people are very pleasant. There's only been one. The first sex club that I went to in Barcelona, it was so small. I don't know. Yes, there was. It wasn't extremely welcoming, and the very few people that were there were just there for the brutal sex, so there was no interaction, and I found that a little bit off-putting for me. Some people want that, and some people would hate talking too much. But they were not unfriendly. I mean, nothing that you don't want happens, so no one forces you to do anything. If obviously people will approach you, I mean, if you're there, it's for one reason only, so people know that you are open to some kind of sexual fun. They will come to you, they might suggest things that you don't like, they might try things that you don't like. You can simply say no and walk away. I've never witnessed anything unpleasant. I've never witnessed anyone doing or being forced to do things that they don't want. So it's a very friendly and safe environment. In fact, I would say it's safer there than walking on the street, and you never know what might happen to you. And there are different kinds of dark rooms. You have dark rooms where you just have maybe a bench where you can sit, or not even a bench, and you do everything standing. You need to find creative ways to have fun. There are dark rooms that have equipment, all sorts of fetish equipment. I'm so naive and so oblivious to this world that I don't even know all the equipment that is out there, but it's insane. I mean, there is some serious science behind how all of this works. So you can have rooms equipped with things that you can use, not sex toys, but more like structures, like scaffolding that you can build, well, they build for you. So it just depends on what you want, on what kind of room you want, what kind of night you want. You need to do your research, and you will find the right place for you. Again, it's not for everyone. Not everyone likes dark rooms. Not all gays like dark rooms. It's there if you want it. And I don't particularly like it. I wouldn't. When I go clubbing, I make sure that my night does not revolve around the dark room, because I find it boring, and I just want, if the music is good, I just want to dance. So even if I wanted to go to the dark room, my brain wouldn't allow me, because I would want to dance. But yes, I can't say that I don't go, because when I go to the specific club that I'm thinking about, where they have different dance floors and then there is a dark room, of course I also go to the dark room. I always come out empty-handed, because it's very rare that I would find anyone that I fancy again. But it's there. And I've talked about my gay cruise and how the gays turned one room into a dark room, because, as I always say, where there's a gay, there's a way. And I have, one funny story about it. So we also need to talk about another topic, which is cruising. Now, cruising has nothing to do with being on a cruise, and I know I've just talked about being on a cruise, so that might be a bit confusing. Now, again, what's a world come to? So in the gay world, cruising means that you go usually to an open space, and you usually a park with trees, yeah, and usually there are trees and bushes involved, so you can sort of hide. You go to these areas that are cruising spots, so you know that cruising happens. And cruising is literally, you go to these places and you walk around looking for people who want to have sex there and then. Yeah, in the woods, basically. It's a very animalistic way of doing things, because yes, it's usually in bushes and in woods. So that's what cruising means. You go around these areas, you walk around because you know that that's a cruising spot, and then you may or may not find people. Now, as a concept, again, I don't judge it. It's very. I'm a mathematician at heart, and I like science. I like what your brain can do, and from a scientific point of view, it's very clever that people came up with this idea. You may or may not like it. I don't particularly like it. I mean, the idea of being in the bushes, I mean, my main fear is, what if an animal attacks you? That's my main fear. And obviously, you run the risk of being seen, but I would say the people that go cruising don't mind being seen and potentially even watched. But yes, it's just not for me. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my first thought in the morning and my last in the evening. And why is this important? It's because obviously the gays make a lot of jokes about being on a cruise, which is a ship, and cruising. So if you hear gays making jokes like that, now you will know why. It's because in gay jargon, cruising is something a bit different from being on a ship. And we have, in London and in other places, we have cruising bars. So not only do you have cruising areas, and I'll tell you a story about that soon, but you also have cruising bars. So it's basically a sex club where you go, and then you know that everyone is there to potentially have sex, so you talk to people at the bar, you talk to people in the air, in that space, and then if you want to have fun, usually there is a dark room attached to it. It's not a club in the sense that you don't dance, I would say. I mean, the one that we have here, the cruising bar that we have here, is a bar with a bit of a dark room. It's not a club. You don't go there to club. There is background music. And oh gosh, what did I want to say? So yes, these are cruising bars, and I wanted to try it because, again, I didn't think it was my thing. I still don't think it is, but at least I know how to navigate it. I know my way around it. And there is one famous cruising bar here in London. And after years of thinking about going, but then it's £10 to get in, so I didn't want to spend money on something that I may not enjoy. And also the place is open until 1, which sometimes is a bit too early for me, 1 a.m, because I have other things to do, and I wouldn't give up an evening with a friend to go to this cruising bar. I would go afterwards, but then 1 o'clock is too early. But anyway, I think, like, in September, was it last year in September, one Sunday evening I found myself in Central, and I finished whatever I was doing early, and I thought, you know what, let's go to this place, because otherwise I'll keep thinking about it, and I'll keep putting it off and procrastinate. Let's just go. I went, and what you do is that, they give you a sort of crate where you can put your clothes, and this specific cruising bar has different themes on different nights. So one night you can't take your clothes off, you're not allowed to. Some nights I think you can only wear a certain type of clothes or a certain amount of clothes. Sometimes you must be fully naked. Then I think on a Sunday when I went, you could wear whatever you wanted, so you could be fully naked, fully clothed, everything in between, which I thought was perfect for me because I could decide how I wanted to navigate this. Now, it was Sunday at 9 p.m. It wasn't very busy. I think I picked the worst time to go, but I'm a drag queen. I'm a singing drag queen. That's my job, and I work in gay venues, and most people know me in a drag. Not many people know me out of drag because they don't see me, because I usually take my makeup off at home. So I leave the building, I change into my normal clothes, but then I keep my face on and I take it all off back home. But I recognise everyone, so every time I just walk around the street in Soho, for example, I recognise most people. When I'm going to Gran Canaria, every time I go to Gran Canaria, I always recognise everyone, because they all come to my shows, but they don't know it's me. So as soon as I walked into this cruising bar, which wasn't very busy, I spotted people that I knew, and as I said, most people don't know who I am out of drag and what I look like, but I knew for a fact that these people did know me out of drag because they'd seen me before. And I just thought, oh, come on now, the one time that I push myself and I'm literally out of my comfort zone. Obviously there's nothing wrong, we're all there for the same reason, but I wouldn't want to go to a dark room with friends, for example. So when I go clubbing with my friends and there is a dark room, we're trying not to go at the same time. There's nothing wrong. Some people don't think it's weird, they're not put off by it. I am. I mean, obviously if you bump into someone that you know, which happens, I mean, it's too late to do anything about it, but if I know that my friends are there, I'd rather be in the dark room on my own. So I didn't really want to see these people, especially because, I mean, they know me in a different light, and I kept it wasn't very busy. I couldn't find anyone that I fancied, so I was ready to leave almost immediately. But because I paid £10, I wanted to get my money's worth. So I kept walking around, and I kept trying to avoid these two people that were together. Now, I only knew one, and he was the one that knew me out of drag as well. I assumed that the guy that he was with was the guy that he'd met there and then. And I kept avoiding them, and it was a very small place, so there wasn't much space for me to run to. But I managed to avoid them the whole night until, and I was in my underwear, until I had to walk past them. So this is them, this is me. I realised too late that it was them, so I literally had to walk past them like that, and everything would have been fine. So the guy that I know would not have recognised me if his friend hadn't started groping me. So I walked past them, and his friend, well, fancied me, I assume, so he started groping me, so I stopped. And I looked at the guy that I know, and he went, so my name in drag is Elegant, and he went, "Oh my god, you're elegant." And I was like, "Yes, Alex, it's me, let's move on." And then we went our separate ways. Again, there's nothing wrong. The only reason why they know that I was there is that they were there as well. But I was mortified. And now, because we keep seeing each other around London, and also they come to my shows, so now this is our inside joke. Every time we see each other, we say, "I know, fancy seeing you with some clothes on." So that happened. I was mortified. I'm too famous for this. And that's why I said I'm too famous for these things. And something similar, not related to a darkroom, happened a few months ago. I have a YouTube channel where I teach English as a foreign language as well. I will link it down below in case you're interested. And a few months ago, I was in Soho, and I was on Grindr, and I get this message saying, "Oh my god, you're Sam from Inglagic, I love your channel." So basically, this guy from somewhere in the US, who follows my channel, and actually he once commented on one of my videos, so he is a flight attendant, and he was in London that night, and he found me on Grindr, and he said, he recognised me, which I thought was very sweet. But then I thought, gosh, I'm too famous a drag queen to go to dark rooms here in London. I'm too famous a YouTuber to be on Grindr. So that was really funny. So yes, that's the reality of dark rooms. And going back to cruising, I live in Tottenham Hale, which is an area in North London, and I know that there are cruising areas around here. Everyone keeps telling me about it. Now, there are a lot of green areas around here. We have a park, we have the marshes further down, then we have wetlands further down. But I've been here 4 years. I have never seen anything because, well, the park doesn't have enough trees or bushes, the wetlands don't have anything, and the marshes, that's the only option, because the marshes are divided into two parts. The one that I walk in has no usable bushes. There is another area which looks like a jungle, and I've been there once or twice, but it's actually quite scary, so it's not a pleasant walk. But the first time I went out of sheer curiosity, because I thought that was the cruising area, and I kept looking around thinking, how can someone hide here waiting for other people to come and have sex with them? Because it's scary. Now, I am easily scared, I know, but any kind of animal could attack you for real here, and it's just not pleasant. And because it's so big, you can actually get lost in it. I didn't see anything. 2 times that I went. So I thought, okay, maybe it's a different area, or maybe, I mean, I don't know what time these people go. I don't know how this works. Now, there is another area called the paddock, which is a little green area that, well, it's always been here, but now they've been doing some work around there, and I've heard that even that is a cruising area, and I kept thinking, where can you do it there? But last week, and I walk around that area a lot. I walk in the marshes and in the wetlands a lot, but I never walk inside the paddock because it's ugly. But last week I thought, you know what, let me go and have a look, because I hadn't seen it for a while, especially after all the works. Well, I suppose they're finished now. Actually, I thought they were, but I don't think they are. I think there is still something to do. And I had a walk around. Part of it I'd already seen, but I never realised how big it was, because that was also another one of my questions. I thought it's too small. I mean, where would you do that? But then it's not that small, actually, because there is another area that I didn't really know about. And then it was like 3 p.m. on a Friday. It's very sunny here in England, in London at the moment. And then I walked there. Again, I have to be honest, I had no intention of exploring the cruising part of it. I just wanted to see what it actually looked like as an area. And then there weren't many people, but then I noticed that the few people that were there were all gay. And I also bumped into my housemate. My housemate is gay as well. And I thought, oh my god, it is true what they say. The rumours are true. It is a cruising area. But then I kept thinking, but where? I mean, where do you do that? Because, yes, there were bushes, but nothing secluded enough. I mean, come on now. But then, as I kept walking, I realised that there were very hidden footpaths, literally in the side of the jungle. And I was like, oh my god, that's where all the gays go. So I did 1 lap, because I just couldn't, my brain couldn't process what was happening. And then, yes, I crossed paths with a few gays who were very smiley, because I think they were cruising, obviously, so they were checking if I was available, which I wasn't. Now, I'm filming now on the 29th of July. You will probably see this at the end of August, I think. I've been very sick for 3 weeks. I've been severely sick for 3 weeks, and by now I will have told you about it in other videos. And so that Friday I was on the mend, but I was still very sick. The night before I had a drag show, so my hair was horrendous. I stank. I looked like I'd been run over by a truck. So I was not ready for any cruising. I was not dressed to impress. So yes, yeah, it was just not meant to be. But yes, I could see that these people were smiling at me then, so I took 1 lap, because I just needed time for my brain to absorb what was happening. And then I thought, you know what, because I also saw people come out of these secret footpaths. That's where I then realised that that's where it all happens. So I took a second lap. I did a second lap, and I thought, okay, let me try and go inside. Let me try and follow these footpaths. Now, at one point, I realised that the man was following me. But he was very discreet, and I, because we locked eyes several times, I would have had the chance to let him understand that I was interested, but because I didn't, I think he took the hint and left me alone. But then, yes, now that I've been, I can see that there are a couple of areas by the river, very romantic, where things can happen. I can totally see it. They are quite secluded, and I think only the gays actually know these places. So even if you are having fun with another gay guy, the chances are that, I mean, if someone else comes, chances are they will be gay, a gay guy who might want to join in. But I kept crossing paths with this other good-looking guy, the one that smiled at me the first time, but again, I was so shocked, I still couldn't quite believe or accept that he was cruising, even though in hindsight he was, but I knew that I had nothing to offer, so I dismissed the whole thing very quickly. And then my only problem was that I kept thinking about all the animals that could just jump out at you and eat you alive. And also, I kept getting hit and beaten by all these plants and nettle. It was just unpleasant. The footpaths were then, when you got to the little oasis in the middle of the paddock, then it was okay. But getting there and getting out of there as well. So yes, I'm just not meant to be in these places, because I'm not. I'm too naive. I'm too naive for these things. And then, you know what, I have to be completely honest, I thought that maybe I could go back this week during the day, because I did not want to bump into my housemate again, but because I've been so sick, I haven't been able to. But yes, so that's my little story about cruising around my area and dark rooms. So, what can I say? I hope this channel is still up and running after this video is released, but I thought, as I said before, these things need to be normalised, because there's nothing wrong with having fun as long as it's consensual, which these things are. Obviously, if you go cruising, you know what you're doing. If you go to a dark room, you know what you're doing. And also, I thought I would put a fun spin on it. And yes, so now you know the world of cruising and dark rooms. So let me know in the comments if you have any specific experiences yourself, if you've learned anything new. And on that note, I will let you go. Bye bye.